Welcome, my friends. I just did my second interview since arriving in the Middle East, and it was absolutely fantastic. Michelle is a friend of mine. We were able to dive into some subjects that I think are going to be quite illuminating for you, and her story of healing is really quite remarkable. But until we get to that, if you are unaware, I am going to be teaching an absolutely revolutionary course on sacred energy exchange, sex. I'm going to be discussing things like pornography, masturbation, the things that we are normally not comfortable talking about. I want to give you the enlightened perspective, the metaphysical perspective about what is really going on when we engage in sex, what it can be applied for, all the different applications of really the most powerful force that exists. So that is going to be pinned at the top of the comments below. So if you want to learn more about sex and ways and things that you've never heard before, sign up. That class is going to start towards the end of November. But until then, enjoy this great interview that I did with Michelle. I'll see you soon.
Now, clearly, all of this enlightenment, all of this understanding, this deep understanding and wisdom didn't happen just when you got sick. It had to have built up over, it had to have been somewhere tangible before. Were you trained? Were you always this way when you were? I remember you saying in the book, like you were this way when you were sort of this way when you were little, but then, it wasn't really, didn't land very well. So you kind of put it away for a number of years. Like, can you fill me in on how that worked so that you were able to get to this point when you were in absolute crisis that it all kind of coalesced?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my earliest memories as RJ were of me leaving my body as a kid. So I used to be on the ceiling, and then that graduated to being on the roof, and then I started to realize I could literally go anywhere in outer space, which is what I called it as a kid. But that's so I came into this world very, very detached, and without me going on and on and on, I play a very specific role when I incarnate here. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm like everybody else. I'm not. I'm not. I am a true teacher of humanity, a timeless teacher of humanity. And I always suspected as much as when I was a kid. Okay. One of the things I also used to say when I was a kid, that if I ever get sick, I'll just heal myself. I mean, that's fucking bizarre to say that without question, right? And if someone would have asked me, all right, RJ, how? How would you do it? I wouldn't have been able to give a specific answer, but I knew that I knew. It was only until the time was needed that all the specificities, the actual specifics of healing came back to me because that was at the crisis moment. It's like it had to come back to me because this was the time. So, I mean, we could also put it this way. Prior to uh, complete paralysis and waking up in a state of cosmic consciousness, I was about as close to enlightenment as you can possibly be. I mean, that's just the truth. I was giving past life readings when I was in my 20s. There's so many different talents and abilities, moving energy and all this kind of stuff. I've always been a weirdo. Like I said, I came into this incarnation like that, saying if I ever get sick, I'll just heal myself, all sorts of bizarre things like that, seeing my other incarnations and so on and so forth. So my ego mind identity was very, very content with being about as close to enlightenment as you can get without being enlightened. That was good enough. But clearly, my true self had a much bigger plan. So there were many, many, many instances. And my third book, by the way, Access Superconsciousness, the first chapter is very autobiographical. I'm not sure if you've read that. So I talk about
Yeah.
maybe like five or six different, I think it was five or six different experiences that I had, and there'll be an autobiography eventually, but five or six different experiences that were quite profound and monumental in terms of my own self-realization and my own awakening. But I needed my body to be destroyed to fully awaken, right? I needed the ego mind identity whose foundational identification is with the body. If my body was destroyed, which it was, that's the destruction of the ego mind identity. So it was gone, just gone. And what remains is the I am. So to answer your question, I am different, and I came into this world like that, and this is the roles that I play when I come here. Um, that doesn't really mean anything though, right? It's what you do with it once you get here. That's what matters. It's how well you work with yourself while you're here. Not so much your life plan. Who gives a shit what your life plan is if you get here and you just fumble the ball, right? If you just, you just fail to live up to your own expectations, but you can also exceed your own expectations. So all that matters is how you work with yourself when you get here. And I wanted a challenge, or I wouldn't bother. Really, I wouldn't bother coming here. So I gave myself the biggest challenge that I could think of. I mean, my last name is Spina, which means spine. I mean, you know, so I wanted a big, big challenge, Michelle, so I could prove to myself yet again that I know how to put a destroyed body back together. And then through me doing this and being embodied here, I would act as a permission slip for other people to do the impossible for themselves. And so it was really those two things. I wanted to become self-realized again, and I wanted to help humanity. I mean, what else is there, right? So uh, this is how I went about doing it, and it's pretty extreme, but this is how I went about doing it. So we're all different. I'm just different in this way. But the inner mechanics of everything that we're talking about is universal. Is universal. Healing for RJ works the same as it does for Michelle, as it does for your neighbor, and my dentist, and the inner mechanics are the same, right? It's the same thing. And so we all can do this. Many of us have. I just remembered how to do it again. And many people are waking up to remembering about how to work with themselves. They're remembering who and what they really are. They're starting to transcend the brainwashing, just like you were talking about. But I just wanted a challenge. And through challenge, like I said, is the evolution of consciousness. And I knew if I did it myself, if I put myself through hell and transcended it, no one would be able to say, well, that's an interesting theory. It's not fucking theory. I don't deal in theory. I don't deal in beliefs. I deal in what
Right.
is. I deal in what is. So it becomes irrefutable. And then that's the permission slip for everyone else. It's like, oh, this weirdo RJ did it. And he's not full of it. He actually really did it. He even filmed it. He really did it. So this is actually how you really do it. And you know what? I'm gonna do it. And that's really the point.
It's kind of like when we see somebody at the Olympics who's gone like 30 seconds past the world record
Yeah.
or like a minute past the world record. And then the people who come up behind them are like, wait a minute. We were told that there was like absolutely no way anybody was ever going to go past that. And then suddenly you have years and years of
Mm-hmm.
people like going beyond and breaking those records. So I guess the permission slip in a way, and that's how I felt when I read your book. The permission slip in a way is like, it's our hope. It's really
Mm.
where you can move the finish line. You can
Yeah.
just keep on moving it if you see people who are now doing things that were beyond your original belief systems, because the belief system can sometimes feel like a concrete wall that you can't get past. But if somebody takes one of those pieces of concrete and moves it, you're like, oh, wait a second, there's like an opening.
That's exactly that's 100%. And it is. It's just a permission slip. That's all it is. So now other people can do the impossible for themselves. It's like, well, that guy was paralyzed from the chest down and told he had 48 hours to live. He did it. And he explained how he did it. Now I can do it. Yes, you can, because the inner mechanics are the same. They're universal. They're universal. So yeah, once it's downloaded into the collective consciousness, so in other words, once it's embodied and it's here, it becomes available to everybody else. And that's, like I said, that's really the point. So someone does the impossible, like running the 4-minute mile, right? Impossible, 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 right? And then finally he does it. And then a month later, someone did it. So it's like, and it was impossible forever. So, well, there's no such thing as impossible, right? So yeah, it's really about being an embodiment, and then therefore being a permission slip for others. And that's what this is what this is really about. And that's really what ascending the frequencies is. That's really what evolution is. It's really just that. It's moving past belief systems, concepts, ideologies. It's moving past these things. And the only true knowledge is knowledge of self or gnosis. The rest is the rest is literally bullshit. I mean, that's what it is. It's a way to keep us small, closed off, limited, separated, disconnected, right? But when we start working with ourselves properly, the way that we're talking about, all bets are off. We can literally do anything, and that's what excites me. That's what interests me, is us being able to do anything, which is the truth. I hope you're enjoying this fantastic conversation. But don't worry, there is much, much more to this conversation. So if you're not subscribed, click on that, subscribe, and there'll be more of this interview coming very soon. Until then, be well.